What's up guys, and welcome back to another episode of The Playthrough. I am currently playing through the entire Resident Evil franchise in game chronological order. So far I have beaten the Resident Evil 0 HD Remake and the Resident Evil HD Remaster, and now I am on the Resident Evil 2 Remake. And I had just beaten this, and wow, what a great game. Just a lot of nostalgia for this one. Resident Evil 2 was one of the first games that I beat as a child, back when it came out years and years ago in the 90s. So revisiting this, there was a lot of nostalgia there for me, and I thoroughly enjoyed this game. I initially beat it as Leon, and then I beat the B side as Claire. What a ride, man. I mean, this game is so good. So anyway, Resident Evil 2 was released January 21st, 1998 for the PlayStation. Again, I'm sorry if I butcher these names, but it was directed by Hideo Kamiya and written by Noboru Sugimura. I think that's right. The remake was released on January 25th, 2019 for the PS4, Xbox, and I believe PC. I played this on PS4. It was directed by Kazunari Kadai and Yoshihiro Anpo. So my overall impressions, I love this game. As always, we'll go the overall impressions, go through the story, and then I'll go through some of the gameplay, what I liked, what I didn't like, and then we'll rank it up there with the rest of the Resident Evil games that we're currently at. So overall impressions of the game, fantastic. There were a lot of things that this game kind of brought me back on that I completely forgot about, but overall the game is it's just such a fantastic story, fantastic game. It's not too long. It's definitely a little bit on the shorter side, but I mean, that's the way the games were back then. So let's get into the plot. I'm sure some minor things had changed. I don't exactly remember what plot points had changed from the original over into the remake, but I'm going to read the Wikipedia plot points. The game is set in Racoon City in September 1998. 2 months after the events of Resident Evil. Most of the citizens have been turned into mindless zombies due to an outbreak of a viral bioweapon known as the T-Virus, manufactured by Umbrella Corporation. The game begins at a gas station outside of the city, where rookie police officer Leon S. Kennedy meets college student Claire Redfield, who is looking for her brother, Chris Redfield. After being separated following a car accident, Leon and Claire agree to meet up at the city's police department. The building is infested by zombies and other monsters, including the Tyrant, who is dispatched to hunt down and kill any survivors. The creatures and various obstacles prevent Leon and Claire from actually reuniting, as they are forced to find a way to escape the city. Claire encounters Sherry Birkin, a young girl being pursued by a monstrous creature. In the police station parking garage, corrupt police chief Brian Irons abducts Sherry and locks her in an abandoned orphanage. Claire soon receives a call from Irons to trade Sherry for a pendant she had dropped during the abduction, threatening to kill the little girl if Claire does not comply. Reluctantly, Claire agrees to do so. Sherry tries to escape on her own, but is soon cornered by Irons. Before Irons can harm her, the creature that had been chasing Sherry returns and implants Irons with a parasite. Claire arrives to save Sherry, and the parasite bursts out of Irons' chest, killing him. As Claire and Sherry attempt to leave, the Tyrant arrives and chases the pair into an elevator, but is killed by the creature stalking Sherry. The creature then tries to attack Claire and Sherry as it mutates, but it accidentally causes the elevator to fall into the sewers. Claire is knocked unconscious, and Sherry is forced to abandon her to escape. Claire is found by Annette, Sherry's mother, who reveals that the creature after Sherry is William, her husband and Sherry's father. The Birkins developed the G-Virus for Umbrella. However, William planned to sell it to the US military. Umbrella sent its paramilitary force to confiscate his work, leading to William being fatally shot. To avoid death, William had injected himself with the G-Virus. In the process of taking revenge on the Umbrella soldiers, sewer rats infected by shattered vials of the G-Virus carry the infection to Racoon City. Now, a mindless mutating beast, the G-Virus drives William to infect Sherry, as she is the closest genetic match to William, and thus the most suitable host to spread the infection. Claire finds Sherry trapped in a trash compactor by Annette. Upon reaching her, however, Sherry falls ill. Annette realizes William has already infected Sherry and has Claire bring her to an Umbrella lab called Nest, where a vaccine is stored. Once there, Claire uses Sherry's pendant to unlock the vaccine, but William attacks after mutating again. Claire sends Annette to administer the vaccine while she fights William. After seemingly killing him, Claire reunites with Annette, who has managed to cure Sherry before dying from internal injuries. Sherry tearfully bids her mother goodbye. As the facility enacts a self-destruct protocol, Claire and Sherry make their way to an evacuation train. William returns yet again, now mutated into a much larger monster, and Claire defeats him just as the train prepares to leave. Upon boarding, Claire discovers Leon there as well. So now I'm going to read the Leon scenario. Leon is saved from an infected dog by FBI agent Ada Wong. They find reporter Ben Bertolucci in the holding cells, imprisoned by irons for investigating Umbrella. As Ben tries to convince Leon to release him, the tyrant kills Ben. While attempting to escape the police station, Leon is intercepted by the tyrant, but again is saved by Ada. Leon pledges to help Ada retrieve the G-Virus sample to prove Umbrella's corruption. In the sewers, Annette Birkin ambushes the pair and shoots at Ada. Leon takes the bullet and passes out. Ada pursues Annette, but is knocked into a trash compactor. Leon rescues her and they descend to Nest via cable car, where Ada kisses Leon. Ada, injured, requests that Leon obtain the G sample. In Birkin's lab, Leon obtains the sample but is attacked by a now more deadly William. Annette tries to kill him but is mortally wounded. Leon defeats William and tends to Annette, who claims that Ada is a mercenary and will sell the virus to the highest bidder. Leon confronts Ada and the lab's self-destruct protocol begins, where she admits to being a mercenary. Ada demands the G-Virus sample from Leon at gunpoint, but Annette shoots Ada before succumbing to her injuries. As Ada falls off the bridge, Leon catches her, letting the virus sample fall into the abyss. Leon loses his grip and Ada falls. As Leon attempts to escape the lab, he is ambushed by the tyrant, now transformed into the larger and more powerful super tyrant, and engages in a final battle. Ada, having survived the fall, tosses a rocket launcher to him, which Leon uses to finally destroy the super tyrant. Leon boards the evacuation train, discovering Claire and Sherry already on board. After Leon, Claire, and Sherry reunite, William attacks the train, having mutated into a gigantic, horrifying mass of fangs and flesh. Claire and Leon are almost killed in the fight, but manage to uncouple the carriage occupied by William. The carriage falls behind and is consumed by the exploding lab, destroying William once and for all. As the three survivors finally escape Racoon City, they vow to continue the fight against Umbrella. Hunk, one of the surviving special agents sent by Umbrella, completes his G-Virus retrieval mission. So there you have it, there's the story, and overall, it's a lot of what I remember. It's a really good story, and for the time that this came out, the story is so much better and more well told, it's just tighter than the story was in Resident Evil 0, in Resident Evil 1. I think the story transition from Resident Evil 1 to Resident Evil 2, it's not as like, Resident Evil 1 has these corny moments in it, where Resident Evil 2, they do have some kind of like corny, cringy moments, but they're very few and far between as opposed to what happens in Resident Evil 1. The voice acting in Resident Evil 1 is not that great. The voice acting in Resident Evil 2, fantastic. I think the actress who voiced Claire did a way better job than the actor who voiced Leon, but still it really wasn't anything that really bothered me a lot. The look of the game, fantastic. Graphics, just, it looks great. It's a beautiful, beautiful game. Overall, I don't have any gripes really with the story. I guess one of my gripes would be I wish that they fit together more, even though, you know, there's like campaign A, campaign B, you still have overlap between them, and some of the story elements don't really make sense. Like, for example, Mr. X the Tyrant is killed by William Birkin in Claire's scenario, whereas in Leon's scenario, he's still chasing him at the end when they're in Nest. So it doesn't make sense really, like which one happened. And then, you know, Leon kills him at the end of his scenario. In either scenario, you both have to kill William Birkin at the end, regardless of if you're Claire or you're Leon. Now I realized when the game was released back in the 90s, they didn't really have like the memory and the bandwidth to do two separate complete campaigns and fit them in together, which is why there's a lot of overlap. However, today we have the technology to do that, and I wish they did that, but it's not that much of a gripe of mine. I kind of expected it because it is a remake, but I thought it would be kind of cool if you see maybe Leon take on Mr. X, the Tyrant, and you see Sherry take on William Birkin, and then they each have kind of their own different endings. There are things that are different, but the overlap was the one small gripe that I had with this game. Because then you're left wondering like, well, what's canon and what's not? Okay, so the gameplay. Gameplay is fantastic. Initially, I was like, wow, they're giving me a lot of help. I played on medium. I'm glad that they kind of did away with the whole ink ribbon saving system. I know if you play on the hard mode, it's like that classic, you need ink ribbon to save, but we live in a world now where autosave has become the norm, and I'm very happy they kind of just did away with that ink ribbon saving system, because there were times when I was playing 0 or 1, and I was just getting so frustrated because I would get super far into the game and I'd die and I'd have to go all the way back, maybe like an hour or so more into the past to reload my game. And that was something that was very frustrating for me. A minor detail about gameplay that I loved was that if you change their outfits, they remain in those outfits the rest of the game in like the cutscenes and stuff. And I know this shouldn't have impressed me as much as it did, but I like the simple things, so. The gameplay had a very good balance of difficulty. Sometimes it would take me 4 to 5 headshots to take down a zombie. I wish that maybe it would only take half of that, 1 or 2. I did find myself running out of ammo a lot in my first playthrough with Leon, especially near the beginning, and that's just my playthrough style. Is I'm used to just going in, killing everything in the room, and then kind of like taking my time to search. Conserving ammo, leaving enemies alive is something that I'm not really used to and something I had to get used to. And you would think 3 games in, I would kind of be used to that by now, but I'm still not. Mr. X was terrifying. Him chasing me, I completely forgot about that in the original with like hearing his footsteps and everything. And that was something that just left me on edge. And it's a great game dynamic. I'm interested to see how I'm going to do with the Nemesis in Resident Evil 3 when I get started on that. Ada's side story was great. I loved the use of her weird scanning weapon. Her movement and her controls were fantastic for the story. I really enjoyed playing as Ada, and I just like her as a character too. I thought Sherry's was good, and it was a good change up of like, you don't have weapons, you have to kind of be stealthy, but it was very short. It was like less than an hour, her part of the campaign, if that even. Remain hidden, stealthy, survival horror type mode that it was a good break in the story from like the rest of the game. And one of the things in the story that I found interesting was Annette Birkin leaving Sherry to die in the trash compactor and her telling Claire that nothing can be done, and then later just being like, oh, just kidding, there's a vaccine, but you have to bring her here. And like, she was just gonna leave her child to die in the trash compactor. I just thought that was very, like Claire had to convince her to save her daughter's life. I thought that was interesting, yeah. Overall, Resident Evil 2, fantastic. The remake was great. There's no wonder that it got numerous Game of the Year awards and nominations. I don't even think this is close. This is going to the top of the list. So right now the list looks like this: Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 1, Resident Evil 0. Join me next time as I will be reviewing Resident Evil 3 Remake. I don't think I've ever played Resident Evil 3. I remember when Resident Evil 3 Nemesis came out in the 90s, and I remember a few of my friends had the game, but I personally had never owned it. And I don't know if I've ever actually played it. I've watched other people play it. There was a break between Resident Evil 2. I didn't play Nemesis, I didn't play Code Veronica, and then I kind of got back into it with Resident Evil 4. I'm really looking forward to playing Resident Evil 3, and I know it's gotten some mixed reviews when it came out, but I'm going in with an open mind. I don't exactly know what to expect. I mean, I kind of know a little bit what to expect, but I have nothing to put it like up against because I've never played the original. There's nothing there, I'm going in, complete open mind. We'll see how this goes, and that will be my next review. And then I'll rank it with the rest of the series as we continue on with this Resident Evil playthrough. I thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please, it would mean a lot to me if you just give it a big thumbs up. Head on over to my channel where I play through a bunch of different video game franchises in chronological order, and then I rank them all up against each other to see which one is best, which one is worst. So with that being said, I hope to see you on my Resident Evil 3 review, and I'll see you next time.